Alright, so let's get right into it. We all know the name Jackie Robinson, but this isn't just a story about a baseball player. You've got to understand, this is a story about a very specific man, chosen for a mission that almost everyone thought was completely impossible.
Just look at this. This is the moment. April 15th, 1947. When Jackie Robinson stepped onto that field for the Brooklyn Dodgers, he didn't just break a rule in a game, he forced an entire country to take a hard look in the mirror.
And here's the thing, the real core of this whole story. Jackie Robinson was a fighter. It was in his DNA. He spent his whole life standing up to injustice. So what do you do when your greatest strength, the very thing that defines you, is the one thing you're not allowed to use to change the world?
Okay, so to really get the size of what he accomplished, you have to understand the mountain he had to climb. It was known as the color line, this invisible but totally solid wall that had defined baseball for decades.
We're talking for more than 50 years. An unwritten rule, but it might as well have been carved in stone. It locked black players out of the majors, forcing them into their own leagues. Just think of the generations of incredible players who never even got a chance.
So who was this guy they picked to tear down this wall? Well, here's a crazy thought for you. He wasn't just a great baseball player. Some people say baseball was actually his worst sport. No, this guy was something else entirely. He was a force of nature.
I mean, get this. At UCLA, he was the first person ever to letter in 4 sports: baseball, basketball, football, and track. 4. Just let that sink in for a second. We're talking top tier in everything he touched.
And it wasn't just about team sports either. In 1940, he goes and wins the NCAA championship in the long jump. This wasn't just a good ball player. This was one of the best all-around athletes on the entire planet.
But all that incredible athletic skill, it was matched by this fiery, unshakable character. He was a fighter long before he was a Dodger. And there's this one story from his time in the Army that tells you everything you need to know about the man.
So get this, we're talking years before Rosa Parks made her famous stand. Jackie, a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, gets on a segregated bus and is told to move to the back. And he just refused, plain and simple. Of course, they threw the book at him, court-martialed him, but he stood his ground, argued his case, and was honorably acquitted. Right there, that tells you all you need to know, right? This guy did not back down.
And all of this, the athleticism, the fire, it leads us right to the key moment. See, the Dodgers' general manager, a guy named Branch Rickey, he knew integrating baseball was going to be a war, so he wasn't just looking for a good player. He was looking for someone who could survive that war.
So they have this epic 3-hour meeting, and Rickey doesn't sugarcoat it one bit. He acts out all of it, the racist slurs, the threats, the beanballs, everything that was coming his way. He wasn't asking if Jackie was a good enough player, he was testing if he was a strong enough man. And this is where it all comes together. Jackie, being the fighter he is, asks, "So you're looking for someone who's afraid to fight back?" And Rickey's answer is just perfect. He says, "No, I need a player with guts enough not to fight back." Think about that, the courage to not fight, because he knew any retaliation would just be used as an excuse to say the whole experiment was a failure.
So that was the deal, and Jackie agreed. But what he went through in that first season in 1947, it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around today.
I mean, it was nonstop. The slurs from the stands, from the other dugouts, players deliberately trying to spike him, spitting on him, and not just him, death threats against his wife and his family, and through it all, he had to just take it. All of it, without ever fighting back.
But something incredible started to happen. His quiet strength started winning people over. There's this legendary story with his teammate, Pee Wee Reese. They're in a super hostile city, the crowd is just laying into Jackie, and Reese, the team captain, just walks over from shortstop and puts his arm around Jackie's shoulder, stood there with him. That one small act, it shut the whole crowd up. It was a massive statement. And Jackie, he took all that poison, all that hate, and he poured every last drop of it into his game. He did his talking with his bat and his legs.
And boy, was his answer loud. He was a terror on the bases, led the league in steals, and helped push the Dodgers to the pennant. And at the end of it all, they named him the very first Major League Baseball Rookie of the Year. Can you imagine a better response than that? It was the ultimate mic drop.
So yeah, Jackie didn't just nudge the door open. He blew it clean off its hinges. But his story, his fight, didn't end when his baseball career did. Not by a long shot.
And let's be super clear about this. He wasn't just some symbol they propped up. The man could play. He was an MVP, an all-star, year after year, a World Series champ. He proved beyond any doubt that he belonged at the highest level.
And after he retired from the game, he just kept on breaking barriers. He became the first black TV analyst for baseball, the first black vice president of a huge American company. He helped start a black-owned bank. The man just never, ever stopped fighting. His legacy is so unique, so profound, that his number, 42, is retired. Not just for one team, for every single team in Major League Baseball. Nobody else in American sports has that honor. It's this constant, league-wide reminder of the guy who had the guts not to fight so that everyone else would get their chance to play.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? Jackie used his incredible talent to tear down a huge, obvious wall. It really makes you think, what are the walls we have today? The ones we can see, and maybe more importantly, the ones we can't. And who has the courage to be the one to challenge them?